Here's your wrestling news for April 15th, 2023, and we're starting off with CM Punk as tentative plans are being made for his return to AEW. Punk said that he is willing to work with the Elite, though the faction hasn't been keen on the idea, and they're not the only ones who aren't signing up to share the ring with Punk. When a fan tweeted how Chris Jericho has been willing to work with anyone if it's good business, this got a response by the former WWE, AEW, and ROH World Champion, who simply said, "Not everyone." Fans quickly took it as Jericho making reference to Punk, who branded Y2J a liar and a stooge in his recent social media rant against AEW and Jon Moxley. Jericho has worked with countless names over his 32-plus year career, including Punk in 2012, but while meetings are being organized between the two, don't expect these two to be sharing the ring if Punk is brought back to TV. For some time, we've known that Roman Reigns isn't going to be working the upcoming WWE Backlash event as part of his lucrative contract with WWE. With Reigns not competing in Puerto Rico, some have questioned as to when he will be in the ring next, and we now have our answer. Ringside News has been able to confirm that Reigns will be at Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia, and it's only fitting that Night of Champions will mark day 1000 of the Tribal Chief's incredible run as champion. More from AEW, as it was last year that Thunder Rosa announced that she would need to take time off due to an injury, but some found the timing of her announcement very questionable. Rosa reportedly only told AEW that she couldn't defend her women's title after learning that she'd be losing the gold, and her announcement came weeks after reports of backstage heat. From taking liberties in the ring to breaking the nose of Jamie Hayter, there was plenty of heat backstage, but Thunder Rosa is ready to move on, as she told Busted Open Radio this week. "We got to respect the people that are now representing the company. I'm representing the company in a different manner. I have talked to the locker room and I took accountability for things that some people had issues with, and I went out there and I apologized. And that's the best thing I can do because I want to make money. I want to make sure that I am able to work with everyone regardless of if we have any issues or not." While Rosa hasn't returned to in-ring action, she has been providing Spanish-language commentary for AEW, and a meeting in February resulted in Rosa making amends with some of the roster. One member of AEW management at the time said they hoped this would mark a clean slate for Rosa in AEW, but we'll likely only know for sure once she is back in the ring. Next month, WWE will return to Jeddah for their upcoming Night of Champions event, which, up until this week, had been named King and Queen of the Ring. We can't say for sure if both tournament finals will take place at the show, but one unlikely name could be appearing in Saudi Arabia. As Dave Meltzer pointed out in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, Sami Zayn could be making his Saudi debut, given that he is one half of the Undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions. As the fans at Crown Jewel 2022 made clear with their chants, there's a lot of love for Sami Zayn in Saudi Arabia, and we'll have to see if this year marks the end of his ban from Saudi events. During this week's AEW Dynamite, Jeff Hardy made his return to AEW around 10 months after being suspended without pay for his DUI arrest. Jeff has received a second chance at AEW, though Tony Khan has said that it'll be his only chance with the promotion, and we've now learned more about Jeff's contract situation. During the latest Extreme Life podcast, Matt Hardy shared an update about his brother and revealed that Jeff's contract was frozen due to his arrest. He said, "It's still owned by AEW. Now that he's back to work, I guess they'll start paying him again. His contract was frozen for a while. It's owned by AEW. Hopefully he'll make a few bucks out of this." This isn't a new phenomenon, as Tony Khan also froze Jon Moxley's contract when the former world champion entered alcohol-related rehab last year. Jeff has been given plenty of chances throughout his wrestling career, with some saying he's been given too much, and if he can keep himself clean, fans will see the charismatic enigma for longer than expected in AEW. During a recent episode of ROH TV, Eddie Kingston revealed that he has been diagnosed with a hernia, and that will keep him out of action for the foreseeable future. It's now been confirmed that Kingston will have surgery to deal with the hernia, which has been bothering him since last September, and we are wishing him a very speedy recovery. It's been less than 2 weeks since it was announced that WWE is to be acquired by Endeavor in what Vince McMahon has called the single biggest deal of his lengthy career. Endeavor will merge WWE and UFC into one company, with Endeavor president Mark Shapiro saying that synchronicity between the two brands will be a priority, and it is expected that there will be layoffs on both sides. Speaking about the merger on his 83 Weeks podcast, Eric Bischoff gave the prediction that there will be cuts, but he believes that these cuts will hit UFC harder than the WWE roster. Bischoff's reasoning is that WWE is a very sophisticated, mature business compared to UFC, and went on to say that WWE is as sophisticated as any other media company out there, including Disney. The WWE Hall of Famer added that he'd be more concerned if he were working for UFC than if he were working for WWE, but it should be stressed that neither WWE or UFC have confirmed that layoffs will happen. With the UFC-WWE merger not expected until the second half of this year, don't expect any layoffs just yet. But some people working in UFC may want to start dusting off their resumes if Bischoff is correct. It was just a few weeks ago that Brian Cage's future with AEW ROH was in question, as he was reportedly working without a contract. Now we know that Cage will be sticking around, as Fightful Select reports that he is locked in a 5-year deal, but Tony Khan can add a 6th year if he chooses to. While WWE were considering Cage as a future signing, that won't be happening anymore, and expect the powerhouse to be appearing for AEW and Ring of Honor for a long time to come. Prior to WrestleMania, reports came out stating that WWE were hoping on a Brood reunion at WrestleMania for Edge's match with Finn Balor inside Hell in a Cell. The big question at the time was how WWE would get Christian Cage involved, given that he's under contract with AEW, and it turns out that these alleged plans never got off the ground. Fightful Select reported recently that the idea of Christian appearing at WWE was not a realistic situation, given his AEW status. While Edge did have Brood Edge on the screens for his entrance, that's as close as the Brood reunion we got, and fans will have to keep hoping for the day that Edge, Christian, and Gangrel reunite. And we're ending with Dominik Mysterio, who, since turning heel, has become one of the most loathed characters on the main roster, but that nearly didn't happen. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reports that prior to the feud with his father, WWE had strongly considered sending Dominik down to NXT for further conditioning. It was also reported that there is no chance of that happening now, as Dominik has proven that he belongs on the main roster. While Ray got the win at WrestleMania, the feud between the Hall of Famer and his son is far from over, and while a match is expected for Backlash, don't ever expect to see Dominik head for the gold brand.